Ethanol is an alternative fuel source that is produced through the fermentation of glucose. Glucose is the sugar that plants produce through photosynthesis. Ethanol fuel from corn starts when you break down the corn kernels, and then is then heated and liquefied into a starchy mass. Yeast is then added, and that breaks down the enzymes, and then you add water and heat and a little bit of alcohol, and you get ethanol fuel. The majority of America's ethanol is produced from corn. This causes the corn prices to raise dramatically and raises the prices of meats because many of our farmers' livestock are fed corn. If the U.S. invested even more heavily in ethanol, it would most likely cause food shortages because our animals are fed lots of corn, and America produces 44% of the world's corn. Currently, President Obama has put quite a bit of money behind the development of alternative fuels, especially ethanol. This money comes in the form of subsidies. A government subsidy is a sum of money granted by the government to help an industry or business keep the price of a commodity or service remain low or competitive. In California alone, there are many financial incentives for people who just use ethanol fuel. Many people say that the ethanol business would not even be alive without government subsidies because many of these farmers are paid so many subsidies to continue their ethanol production. I do not think that this money is well spent because it has raised the price of corn from an average of $4 to $5. That doesn't seem like a lot, but farmers need to be able to buy corn at a cheap price to be able to feed their livestock. I also think that the government could spend more subsidies on ethanol fuel based off of wood chips and grass, since they are not as important as corn. Ethanol isn't all that green because it takes large amounts of fossil fuels to produce ethanol as well. Ethanol fuel creates 1/3 the amount of energy as gasoline and is more expensive in areas outside the Midwest because it costs more to transport blended fuels. 1 gallon of gasoline contains 114,000 BTUs of energy, while ethanol fuel only has 76,000 BTUs per gallon of ethanol. Ethanol fuel is not a viable fuel source. It gives you less efficient fuel at a more expensive cost and raises prices for food. So, because of the economic recession we are in, we do not need fuel and food prices to go up. I still think we should research ethanol fuel, but ethanol based off of wood chips and grass.